Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. I have been wanting to do a video like this for a while now, and I haven't found a subject to really talk about. I'm not someone who likes to stir up drama to get some exposure over this, but I have a guest with me who goes by UntamedFur for her Fursuit business, which you can see here on the screen. These are some of her works, and Chival, which is her persona name, which looks like this. And we are here to discuss a little about some past fursuit maker drama that I have personally dealt with before, but we're going to be going much more in depth than what I previously covered in this video that you see here on the screen. It's going to be a different video compared to what I normally do on this channel, but I have been wanting to do some new variety recently because I do get a little tired of just posting skit videos. This video is a premiere, so if you're all listening to this live right now, I just want to say hi and thanks for being early. I will be watching this video with all of you. Anyways, I have been wanting to make a follow-up video about Lemon Brat recently, but I've been struggling to find someone who ordered a custom suit from them. I mainly wanted to make a video about them to see if they've gotten better in the past. On the flip side, I made a video about Sugar and Spice in the past, which you have all seen already on the screen, and they went under the radar since I have made that video. After I made a tweet about them recently, they supposedly stopped making fursuits and they opened a skate shop, surprisingly. I didn't bother to hear or talk about them again when suddenly Chival reached out to me and composed a large Google Doc of information about Victoria, or Alice, who's the owner of Sugar and Spice, and there is a lot of crazy information about her online now. At first, I never wanted to make a video about her because I was going off word instead of evidence, but now, Chival has made this video possible by providing enough evidence for me to make a video about this. She has been following Sugar and Spice for 6 years, and her Google Doc will be included in the description. And she has gathered much evidence of Sugar and Spice and their fraudulent business practices. Whenever we talk about something that involves evidence on this video, I will be showing it on the screen here so you can follow along with what we are talking about. So first off, I'm going to start by asking a few controversial questions, and then it's going to get a little more tame as I go throughout the video. We can first start off with the first question here. So Alice, or Victoria, whichever name she goes by, I'll just say Alice throughout the podcast.
Yeah, we'll refer to her as Alice.
Alright, sounds good. So she has apparently stolen $66,000 over the past couple of years. You mentioned that she used it to open up a skate shop. How did you find out that it was $66,000?
Well, it's Alice, Sugar and Spice. They do have a public Trello, which has, it's been up for a while, and when you look at the Trello, there is a backlog of over 26 commissions. And the way that we arrive at this roundabout guesstimate is you go to the page, see the backlog, there's specific types of costumes, and through matching up Sugar and Spice's prices, or even just not even current prices, but prices from 2 years ago, would go to about $66,000. There's really that many products that have been taken on by them that are still not delivered. And one more thing to note is not everything is on the Trello either. There are lots of secret projects that they've taken on that are not labeled, and it's a frightening amount of money.
Yeah, and I don't even think I saw my suit on there originally, so I can vouch for you there as well.
They have kept several trades with ex-friends off of the Trello as well. This is maybe like 2 to 3 other full suits that have never been completed, so there's really no telling how much they've taken on. I wouldn't be surprised if my $66,000 estimate is wrong, and it's more. But I would say that I also do not know how much of that money has gone into the skate shop business. Skate shop has opened, I believe, in March of last year, but the scamming and people's suits have been being held hostage for years before that, so I'm not really sure what funds have gone into the opening of the shop.
Since you just mentioned that you don't know how the funds have been allocated, do you know if they ever opened up like a small brick and mortar company? Like, have they opened up like a physical location? I doubt that they did, but
yes, they have.
Oh, they did. Wow.
Yes, they have. The shop has been open for maybe I've been seeing some traffic through the Instagram page, and the shop has been open for less than 2 weeks now. They do not have the actual address posted, but they seem to offer in stories that they should be DM'd for the physical address, but it is an actual store. I've seen pictures of it. It's an actual location. I'd have to check on the actual location. I think it's in Orange Grove, California.
Yeah, I remember she does reside in California, and I'm actually really curious because before hopping into this podcast, I didn't know that she had an actual location. I thought it was just like an Etsy store.
Hmm. Well, it was an Etsy store, but they have secured a place, and I've seen it. One more thing to note is that they had a workshop, and they would post pictures of people's works in progress to their Telegram. Back in November, they just randomly announced, "Oh, we're out of this workshop and we're building our new shop." But they make no mention that it's a skate shop, so they just kind of sprung it on their customers without any real information. One day you go to the Telegram and it's a picture of the entire workshop, like cleaned out, barren, and it's just that post up. So they're very tricky about what they say and do.
Yeah, and I believe that because when I first saw my suit on their Telegram channel, they didn't like, yeah, it was a complete mess there, but they always complained about not having the funds and stuff, so they always had to do emergency commissions, which would later lead to hospital bills and stuff like that, which we can go a little more in depth later because that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you, but it's just, yeah, it's just crazy how they just randomly come up with all of this money just to open up a physical location of their store.
Well, there are a few things contributing to that. Some of it is the commissioner's money, but I think a large portion would also be their housemate, um, which through an ex-roommate contacting me, since I've posted some bewares some places. Sometimes I'm contacted randomly, but an ex-roommate of theirs contacted me and told me that one of their housemates is on a trust fund that allows them to more or less have any money that they need when they need it.
Wow. Yeah, that's already sketched. So I'm actually really looking forward to see like what else they've done with their money and future questions here coming up. But um, that kind of leads to the second question I have here, which is likely going to demonetize my video. But I have been really wanting to ask about this. So there's been some verbal accusations of her and her boyfriend being neo-Nazis, and I know this is a pretty big accusation, but I wanted to see if you if you have any possible evidence about this. I do know that there was a couple screenshots from from your Google Drive about this, which I don't know if I mentioned yet in the video, but you can find it in the description. But I've heard people finding swastikas in their fursuits if they pissed off Alice, and just because of out of paranoia, my tail from her was falling apart. So then I tore open the seams of it to see if I could find any in there, but luckily I didn't find any. So, how much evidence is there out there of her and her boyfriend doing hate speech regarding Jews? Besides that screenshot, which I saw in your Google Drive, which I can post here on the screen.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that there's any real concrete evidence that I can show. At this point, it's simply been by word of mouth. But I would say that the people that had said it were both ex-roommates within the last year of Sugar and Spice. And the fact that they've come forward of their own volition to share what happened, I don't really feel like they're lying. And the roommates said that Roy, of Sugar and Spice, has a swastika, some sort of Nazi memorabilia in his room. I think it was a flag hanging up. And they went on to say that one of the pets was also named Hitler. And this is word of mouth by two separate roommates. And that's really all there is besides just kind of words floating out there in the ether. But I would also say the fact that other people have said that they found swastikas inside of their suits. Where did that come from? You know, it's two separate events, and I would say that maybe there is some credence to it then. I would say, this is also pure speculation, that Sugar and Spice was once very good friends with another maker that recently came under fire and got into the hot seat for potentially having racist views, or maybe to being supportive of the Confederate lifestyle. Do you remember? I'm not sure if I should mention this other maker, but they have been associated with other people that have kind of been rumored for the same thing before. So is there any credence to it? I'm not sure, but I would keep an eye on it is all I would say about it.
Yeah, and it is especially an accusation which would be hard to claim because, it's something that not everyone's going to be open about because they know of the backlash. But yeah, I have heard, you're not the first person to say this. I've been in a Discord call with two other people in the past, and they knew about her. They knew about these accusations as well, and I figured I'd bring it up just to see if you had any evidence about that. So I do appreciate the screenshot that was posted recently, um, the word that you just mentioned about, other makers having this kind of views as well towards them, or, yeah, the same views as them, so...
It's a concerning topic, and
yeah.
It's not one that we want to throw out there with baseless accusations. But like I said, I would just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and
for now,
it's kind of like an innocent until proven guilty scenario as well.
Very, very much agree. Very much agree. We're not here to sling mud, only present facts.
Exactly. Okay, so this next question is something that I verbally heard from a friend of hers at the time, which is the one I was... Well, actually, an ex-friend, I should say. It was the person who I was in a Discord call with. But I was wondering if you had any information about this. This could be true or completely false, but I remember, as I mentioned, hearing it from that other person back then. So Alice has been accused of taking broken fursuit heads, and she offered to do repairs on them. And what she would do is she would scrap the fur off of it, create an entirely different persona from the base of that head, and then they would auction it off or sell it off to someone after completely blocking the person and taking the repair payment. Have you heard of this happening?
Now, I have not personally heard of this happening, but I do have something that I can kind of throw into a similar vein regarding Alice.
Sure.
In my compilation of the Google document, within the folder that says pre-mades before commissions, there is a green dog head that Sugar and Spice made less than 2 years ago. I had posted some images of it to some Beware account, and somebody came and commented that that head, the one that was a pre-made that was now for sale, was technically a failed trade item. And they went on to further say that they were originally going to be trading their Nintendo Switch for the Fursuit head. And basically, trademark fashion, Sugar and Spice were dragging their feet about the item, and I guess the person trading got a little impatient and said, "Hey, what's up with that?" And they tried to poke them about it, and then they said, whatever they said, they canceled the trade. But in interesting fashion, the person told me that a couple of days after the trade was canceled, they finished it up. But they couldn't have finished it up like when the trade was going on. It just felt like more of a move out of spite than out of, oh, now I finished this head. It smells fishy, so I'm going to say that it probably, again, we don't have any hard concrete proof at this moment, but we'll keep an eye on it, because I would say that there probably is some credence to it. I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, and it might have been before they were taking, fursuit orders at the time too. Like, the reason why I'm assuming we can't find any evidence about, the swastika stuff and the stolen fursuit stuff is because, well, this actually goes right into the next question, but it seems as if they're trying to cover their tracks, and the reason why there's not that much evidence is because maybe the person has just completely left the fandom or is completely mortified after all that stuff has happened. So that actually leads, like I just mentioned, into the next question here. So Alice has 8 aliases that you listed on your Google Doc. 9 of you include her Prince Mocha alias, and I found the Prince Mocha alias from a Beware that I found within the first page of typing in Sugar and Spice on Google.
Yes.
So do you think that her and her boyfriend change aliases all the time because they're trying to hide their steps and they're trying to cover up some of the stuff that they've done in the past and restart their business for more scams?
Without a doubt. Absolutely. Absolutely. And you would see them changing their aliases, maybe a couple times a year, and always in pairing with some sort of Beware content that came out. I will give the example that recently, with Roy of Sugar and Spice, it was revealed through a past friend of theirs that Roy has been running a side business for a little over 5 years at this point, named Doberman Designs, which makes custom harnesses,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody knew that it was him because he's been so stealthy about keeping it secret, and it's extra revenue for all of those commissioners that are waiting on their costumes. He's made a bunch of harnesses on time for those commissioners. And it's very unfair to the costumers that have given thousands of dollars and waited upwards of 4 years. So after this Beware came to light about Doberman Designs, immediately, across platforms, when Roy had always gone by Vaporpunk for years on end, on Instagram, on all these other platforms, he went and changed it. Just went and changed it. I think it was one day after the Doberman Designs information came to light. So right there, you've gone back and edited your name that you've carried across platforms for like over 5 years. You just felt like a name change right then and there. The timeline right there proves that you're guilty. You're running, you're hiding, you're trying to cover your tracks.
Yeah, and actually, that reminds me, right when I was talking to Sugar and Spice at the time, she was going by 2 of her aliases at the same time. She went by Corpse Cat on her Telegram.
Yes, and Prince Mocha.
Yep, and then or was it Prince Mocha? Because I think it was Corpse Cat for the username, but then Prince's Spot for the actual name.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
My brain is scrambled from
That's
all
okay.
of this. No, it's true. She does still have the Princess Spot one, and the Corpse Cat one was very recently deleted. I would say the Corpse Cat one was deleted within the last month. It had been there previously with a picture of her, one of her side personas, Nilla, the the Bernese mountain dog. So the whole point is that she's trying to cover up things, and who knows what she deleted with that whole thread. I'm sure there were many DMs that might have been incriminating, not only for Fursuit business, but maybe other things we've discussed here as well. You never know, but people don't just go and delete their whole log for no reason. It's suspicious. It's not even suspicious. It is damning.
Yeah, and actually, while you were saying that, I don't think that she deleted her Telegram, because when I went into my history here, I did not delete the conversation with her. She actually didn't delete it either. But apparently her Telegram is still up, but I haven't seen her. Well, she hides her online status, obviously, so it says she was last seen recently, but, she never updated her bio recently. She didn't update her username to try and go by another alias, but yeah, it looks like that she is still on there, apparently, so...
I do remember that they, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
I do remember that years ago, they abandoned Fur Affinity after some bad press hit the fan. It was basically most of the Bewares that were being posted to Artist Bewares had come about, and just a little bit after that, they purged their gallery and made up some excuse that they were going to be posting elsewhere. And they always run and hide after a big event, I suppose. But ever since your Twitter post and your video on them dropped, they've just been silent the whole time. But I think that it's more to do with the skate shop opening than kind of fixing up what they needed to do, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. And after that tweet got published, I noticed that whenever they would update, like whenever they would post a tweet or something, I would see that they would restrict the replies so that only people who they tag would be able to see. And I also, when I checked there for Affinity, people have been posting a couple other Bewares about them, like right after I posted mine. And then that was right when I had a pending fursuit too. But when I looked at the tweet, like right before I when I looked at their tweet right before I posted my tweet calling them out, I saw that there were like 8 people backing me up with some of this scam stuff that she's been doing, and I think that after that she just kind of restricted her tweets since. So,
well, the less people speaking out, the less people will know. I would there's more evidence of them actively covering things up as they go. Right.
Yeah, and not even with just the fursuit business in general. I feel like with her Facebook, I did look at her Facebook one time, but when I looked at it recently to try and find it, I couldn't find her Facebook anywhere. So, do you know if she ever hit her personal profile on Facebook, or have you ever seen her account on there before?
I have not seen anything over on Facebook. I have no knowledge of anything over there.
Yeah, that's understandable too. The way that I was able to find out like where she was, like what her name was through PayPal, and because of that I did find like a lot of information of her saying, you know, using the N-word and stuff, and she would like post these. Well, I can't quite remember because it's been too long ago, but I remember like she was definitely active on there, but I don't know where she's at now. So,
well, you know, it's interesting. You should say saying the N-word. You know, listen, people are adults; they can speak as they wish. But I would say that this comment has been backed up by one of the ex-roommates that gave a large and stunning testimonial as to their treatment and living with them. And one of the things that she had mentioned was that they constantly use slurs to the point where it's not just joking around, and it made her uncomfortable while she was there.
mhm.
I guess that's as much as I could say, because again, I don't have any like hard evidence to show for this, but
Yeah.
would say that the roommate has no reason to lie about the other things as well. So I've got no reason to doubt that slurs are used in that household, and probably not for comedic effect.
Yeah, I believe that, and maybe after we finish this podcast, I can try and go back to see if I could find her Facebook and see if I could find that anywhere. But I mean, if you guys haven't seen it yet in this video, it's probably because I haven't found it. So, and like I mentioned, she probably got rid of that. So, anyways, I have another question here. So, within your Google Drive, you mentioned that she is accused of tax evasion and fraud. What theory, or what should I should say, what do you know about this?
Well, with this particular instance, their ex-friend has come forward to tell lots of different things. This friend operated and worked with them from 2014 to roughly the end of 2017. And this friend said that they were there when it happened, that Alice and Roy went to some sort of neighboring business and, you know, asked them, can they help them out getting an apartment? They had forged some pay stubs in order to apply to the apartment that they just recently left. I do believe that they were evicted in May. One bit of good news, but I would say that there is there's nothing that I can show as proof that it happened, but I would absolutely 100% trust their ex-friend, because what reason would they have to fabricate that they have evaded taxes? And I would say that I believe it. With everything else, with all, maybe you could have like some lingering doubt in terms of like, okay, well maybe that's just something that's just being said. But when you look at all the other evidence that's there, you kind of think, well, that doesn't seem too far-fetched either. Why would they be paying taxes if they can't even deliver products, you know?
Yeah.
So again, these are things that I cannot show a picture of. I cannot point to something to show you with your eyes. But when we look at all the evidence, we can kind of make small assumptions. Not 100%, but we can kind of know that it's probably true.
Right. Okay, so have you heard about Alice and her boyfriend's behavior from her employees? And if so, did they say anything in regards to working with them?
I have heard. I've taken in several different employees' accounts of what goes on in their workshop, and I would say that the overall tone to what goes on there is disorganized chaos. It was described by at least 3 separate individuals, 2 of them fur and 1 of them non-fur. All 3 said that it was very disorganized there, and that specifically, more often than not, they would see Alice becoming very distracted when working. It was said multiple times that Roy was somebody that was reliably working almost every time that he was in the shop, that people saw him making strides in the costuming stuff and other things, and that Alice was more into her own thing while there, maybe playing on her phone a lot, maybe doing some little side projects for herself, but I guess the overall tone was people that were both friends and employees tried to help organize the place and get it running smoother, but in the end, the changes never got accepted, and it was just very, I guess, chaotic would be the word that several people used, that it was messy and that time management was very poor on Alice's end.
Yeah, and I can totally understand that because she basically never met a single deadline until you actually force her to try and get that suit sent out to you. And speaking of which, I actually do have a few photos of I do have a few progress photos of what my suit was looking like when it was being constructed, and in the background you're able to see just a huge mess of stuff everywhere. And yeah, I'm willing to share those on the screen right here, so if you guys want to see what her workshop kind of looks like, you can check out these photos here. Okay, so for the next question here, very recently, the day when I talked to you actually for the first time to invite you to this podcast, I have seen people reach out to Sugar and Spice for a promised refund based on their Twitter timeline, and they haven't received a response. Do you know if she ever refunded anyone since that one post that she made?
See, this part will be interesting now. I would say that Sugar and Spice has been choosing who they respond to, and I'll explain that in further detail. A majority of the people that are still owed refunds have not seen any money, if not very little money. And recently, within the last couple of weeks, one of these Fursuit clients who has been waiting and been being ignored, actively ignored for over a year, went on to their skate pages on Instagram. OC Skate and Inline is the page. They went onto the page and left a comment saying, "Hi, I'm a customer of yours from 2019 and I'm still seeking my refund." And within seconds of leaving this comment, the comment was deleted. And immediately they received a direct message from OC Skate and Inline. Do believe that it was Sugar and Spice's employee, with air quotes because they're not paid, Destiny. Destiny is one of Alice's friends. She goes by Alani Otter. Destiny had reached out to this person that left the comment, and she immediately says, "Oh, let me take care of that for you. Just give me some details and I'll get your refund rolling." Wow! What an amazing coincidence. You've been ignoring this customer for a whole year without any contact and actively avoiding them on all of the platforms, and then it only takes a few seconds for you to say, "Oh, let me fix that for you." But this is not even the interesting part. What I would say is more interesting about this situation is Destiny then, it's a couple of days between when the message is sent, and a couple of days later, the refund is indeed given. But the refund has come from a PayPal that is directly linked to this roommate of theirs with this large trust fund that they basically siphon off of for years. And it's very telling because in seconds of speaking with Destiny, they say, "Oh, well, I don't even know if I'm going to get my money back," and 2 days later, the money is back, and it's from the rich roommate with the trust fund. And if that doesn't say a whole lot in terms of hush money, I don't know what will, because that's a pretty damning state of affairs. You've got one person sending the note saying, "Hi, I'm Destiny," and then you get it from a PayPal from a totally different person. And it comes within mere seconds of leaving that one disparaging comment on their current business. What I would say would be incredibly useful for other people waiting for their commissions is to go to the page and leave your own comments, because apparently that's the only place they're going to attend to right now, their new skate clients.
Okay, so for the next question here, back then when I commissioned her, she always stated that her boyfriend was in the hospital, that she was in the hospital, that she was too sick to work, etc. And as I looked at the Google Doc that you made, you stated that she had to stop work several times because of rare occasions, like a wall socket exploding, or a fire happening next to her in the work unit, and being hospitalized. She used money excuses a lot. So do you think that she recycles these excuses? And by that, I'm asking if she saves images of these scenarios and then uses it to stall out the purchase protection so that she can run with the client's money and hide.
You know, this is a tricky thing to say, because that's a big thing to accuse somebody of,
Right.
faking health problems. But again, I do believe it to be true. I believe that any and all instances would be used to manipulate whoever was viewing them, and I'll go into detail about that a little more, because I can give an example that is recent, just to kind of show you how certain events are manipulated by Alice at her time of choosing. Recently, Roy, I'm not really sure the circumstances of the car accident, but recently Roy's car was in some sort of accident where it is no longer drivable, so the car supposedly is totaled. There were some pictures to show a little bent hood, but this car accident happened, I believe, on December 30th. I think it was posted about on the 31st. So end of December 30th, 31st. The car is in an accident. There is an image posted to a Roy's private page, and it was maybe roughly 2 weeks later when Alice decided that she would bring it up at 2 separate times on 2 separate days with different sets of people. Well, and I'll say a little more about that. There is another YouTuber that is working on a video currently, Simple Nix. If you don't check out Simple Nix, they've got a lot of good content too, in terms of trying to highlight beware issues. Well, Simple Nix had given Alice a chance to answer some questions on this video that he's making on her. So when Alice answered these questions, initially she contacted Nix and said, "Oh yes, I'll be able to answer these questions for you. I'll get them right back to you." Maybe about a week goes by, and Nix goes to poke Alice and say, "Hey, do you have those questions ready for me?" And then, right then, she says something to the effect of, "Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't gotten them back to you yet. I'm just busy dealing with insurance for our car that was just totaled." And then, the car excuse, it's fine, just once. Then a couple days later, on the OC Skate page, there's a lot of people still without their products that have ordered back in, I believe, August for pre-orders. Alice has given them the same trademark runaround that she does her Fursuit clients. So the customers were a little irate, and they saw a frequency of comments being left like, "Hey, where's my order? Where's the update? Can I get some tracking?" Lots of people leaving these comments. Alice posts, I believe on the 11th, another post about the car. It is the picture of the car with a little bent hood and some message that was kind of to the effect of, "Oh, RIP car, you've helped bring us so many places, and FYI, no one was hurt, but we are out our car." So we've got her bringing up this car 2 separate times to 2 separate sets of people, and one of the things that bothers me is the phrasing that she used with Nix. When she sent this message, she said, "For our car that was just totaled." Just totaled. And this may be a nitpick, but when I hear just totaled, that's not 2 weeks ago. That's like yesterday. I would say that, that's a small nitpick, but a larger question that one would ask, this is Roy's car that was totaled. So why would Alice be dealing with any part of the insurance? I mean, maybe she was helping out with filing the claim or whatever, but you would think, why are you filing a claim like almost 2 weeks after it's happened, and you're not the car's owner? So it's just fishy. It's a fishy excuse, and it's brought up 2 separate times to 2 separate sets of people. It is intended to emotionally manipulate. It's intended to say to Nix, "Hey, I'm sympathetic. I really am working with you on these questions, but I'm going through some hardships, so just give me a break." And to the skate clients, it goes, "Hey, we're dealing with something. I know there's all these delays with your skates, but we've been through a hardship." There's always that presentation of the hardship. And with the health thing, I think it might be 90% bullshit and maybe 10% real health facts. Like, I'm not saying there's nothing going on, but I do believe that it is being manipulated the same way that that car is being manipulated to those two sets of people.
Yeah, and that's totally understandable. And right before you were talking about that, when you mentioned that this is a big accusation, it really is. And if honestly, if Sugar and Spice was a 6-year-old couple or something like that, and if they actually had issues, like health issues that required hospitalization, we wouldn't be talking about this in the podcast.
No, we would not.
And the fact that she's in her 20s and she's been hospitalized, like, well, apparently hospitalized, like, twice within a year when I was talking to her or something, like, she was really sick, her boyfriend was really sick, you know, just all of these excuses just really set up red flags. And I'm a little frustrated that she uses this, because if people actually do have these health issues, it's going to make their excuses look poor if, you know, if they're trying to water down that apology, you know, like that health concern that they've had, which, and like I mentioned, it's not like I actually do feel bad if they are in the hospital, but like you just mentioned, if they are going to be watering down this excuse as many times as they can, then there's no point in feeling sorry anymore.
Well, I think it falls into a boy who cried wolf type of situation. Not to make a furry reference, but
Yeah.
you know, I do believe that when there's sincerity about health issues, of course people will give you all the sympathy in the world and time to heal, and no one's going to push you to work if you're actually sick. But unfortunately, I think that Alice has devised this as like a never-ending, like, hey, I can just say that I'm sick. Hey, it doesn't matter, I can just say that I'm sick. But meanwhile, while you're saying that you're sick to all your customers, you still have the energy and time and money to go and play at all these theme parks all day, to go and work as a scare actor, which I've heard rumored that she doesn't get paid for that, she just hangs out. I would say that you're doing too many things that would kind of contradict the fact that, oh, we are so sick. Maybe you are sick, but I think the truth is being stretched to an unholy amount.
Yeah, and I do remember that, like, scare actor thing that you were mentioning, because when I was talking to her around Halloween, she said that she was at her other job. She never mentioned that she was getting paid for it. So I think she was trying to say, oh yeah, I'm at another job right now, so I can't focus on the suit. Well, is it a job? Or is it a volunteer opportunity? Like, are you just there for fun? Are you just there to try and avoid what needs to be done? And
I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think that with everything else, it's an avoidance.
Yeah.
It's another excuse.
Yeah, and going to that car issue thing, I'm surprised, like, as you just mentioned, I didn't know this, but I'm surprised that it took 2 weeks to try and file for insurance, because I've been in a very small car accident before. I just had, like, my fender pushed back, I had my bumper torn off a little bit, and my headlight torn open, but it was just a very tiny accident that happened in the parking lot. And what happened was the cops were called, we exchanged insurance information, and it was reported. Now the fact that I had a really tiny crash like that, and my insurance was notified about it, should really show that she really had no excuse to say, oh yeah, I sent it 2 weeks later, when the fact that her car got totaled, it's something you can't just hide from your insurance for a while, you know?
No, you can't. And again, when you think about it, like, maybe these excuses would fly if somebody was just grazing over them with their brain. But when you really start to, you know, put the magnifying glass to this stuff, you know, right now, like we're doing it, you do kind of go, huh, that is, he's got a good point. Yeah. Insurance doesn't fucking sit and twiddle their thumbs for a week and a half and then call you back and then have to be like, oh, well, what else happened? No. That's not how it's done.
Yeah.
And I would say that, again, it's just an emotional manipulation tactic.
Yeah, and insurance companies really, really work fast with this stuff. Like, I used to work with, like, going off topic a little here, but I used to work with someone who's an insurance agent, and what they do is, the moment when someone files for home insurance, what they have is they have this program that it's basically like Google Earth on steroids, and what they do is they look at their house that they, like, for the people who apply for home insurance, and they look at the very small details to try and determine how much that they can, like, how they can, I wouldn't say rob, but just how much that they would try to charge extra for. So if they saw a
Mhm.
pit bull, they would charge you more because they would think that the pit bull could escape and then cause, you know, like an injury or something if it attacks someone who's walking along the sidewalk. And the fact that insurance companies work this fast just kind of shows that Sugar and Spice, I really don't feel like that they waited 2 weeks to try and file for file a claim for car insurance. Like, if they did try and file for car insurance, I'm pretty sure that they would have done it much earlier so then they can get the money quicker.
Right? I think that at this point they're very capable of taking money very quickly, so they understand that concept, but I think they just kind of they hope that people won't question what they're saying. They throw out that statement that, oh, there's a hardship, you don't question it. And you know what, right now? The skate customers have zero clue. They've got some inclination to some bad businesses brewing, but they have no idea what they're attached to. And for those new skate clients, I do feel bad.
Hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately, I've fallen into that trap before when she kept trying to, you know, play with my heartstrings. What she would do was, like, she would say, oh, yeah, I'm in the hospital with my boyfriend right now and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, well, just hopefully he feels better soon. I'm patient. I'm fine if you take a little bit longer because I have no deadline. And that deadline just got extended and extended and extended. And that's when I kind of lost it. And then that's kind of where everything went downhill from there.
Well, for what it's worth, I've read your entire messages to her, your entire beware, and you were very professional. You kept it very cut and dry, and they basically used and abused you to the point where you had to explode to get some sort of a response other than, you know, yeah, babe, or something that's minimal, like yeah, with a little face. Like, what type of response is that for your customer? And they know what they do. They're very good at doing it. They've become seasoned grifters within this community, and it's frustrating. It's frustrating when somebody pulls at your heartstrings and presents their humanity to you, but unbeknownst to you, they're just scamming.
Exactly. Yeah, I've had that happen a lot too. Like, not just Sugar and Spice, but like when I would try and, well, I was selling. This is off topic again, but I was selling an Alienware laptop for $1,000, and someone tried to do, I wouldn't say guilt, but he tried to haggle, where he would say, oh yeah, I'm part of a church or whatever, and I need a gaming laptop because all the kids at Sunday school are trying to pitch in for a laptop. And it's kind of like, well, it's good that everyone's working together for that, but I don't think you guys need a $1,000 laptop just to play games on, especially just at church.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? I've seen this is not just Sugar and Spice's tactic. There's lots of people that would try to present to you some sort of fact that makes you want to feel sympathetic towards them.
Right.
You know, if it's a genuine sympathy, it'll come on its own when you're taking in the information by yourself. You won't have to be told to feel sorry. I mean, with Sugar and Spice, again, these are facts and things that are twisted to skew their narrative at whatever time they present it.
Exactly. And unfortunately, she just hasn't changed. You've been following her for what, 6 years, did you say?
Roughly 6 years. I've been seeing the ins and outs of them making their suits and the downfall of their business. It wasn't always in a bad way, but it has been roughly 6 years of watching them kind of flounder to the point where it's like, just put that fish out of its misery. No, this business is not getting off its feet, and it's been 6 years.
Right. And yeah, I've read some bewares, and there are people who are still waiting for their suits from back, what, like 2014, 2015? I can't remember because I don't have the review up, but someone did say that they literally just took their money and ran off. Like, they never received anything. They never heard from them again. No refund.
This is over 20 people that have that same experience of the money being taken and ran with. I could pull them all up for you right now. And to my knowledge, the customer that has been waiting the longest for their suit has been waiting since the suit was fully paid in 2013.
Oh my god.
2013. If that's okay to anybody listening, I don't want you to listen to this anymore because you are not okay. 2013. How much insanity is that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Wow, yeah, just at what point do you just quit trying to be nice to some of these makers and just say, alright, I need a deadline by this time. If you can't do it, I just can't I just can't have business with you.
Well, it's one of the reasons that I would feel like it's so important for us to all band together when this sort of information comes to light with real evidence is to try to protect other people from having this experience. It gives other makers a really bad name, and it hurts the whole making community, honestly, because then there's a trickle-down effect. When you are not providing a reliable service and you're giving this terrible experience, you're making people scared to go and do it again with another maker that could be the best maker that they could have ever gone with. But that apprehension would still be there because of your crappy actions. So when you do that, you hurt more than just the people that you're conning. You hurt the whole community's chance to have these interactions be smoother and with less anxiety for all parties.
Something really unfortunate that I dealt with while dealing with Sugar and Spice is that I originally went to her to replace Lemon Brat's work. I went to her thinking that she was going to be better than Lemon Brat, that she was going to have a better suit, and holy shit, I have never seen anyone behave like this, like in a professional business setting.
Shocking.
Yeah.
It is literally shocking.
Yeah.
And it makes the non-communications of Lemon Brat look like a puppy's kiss by comparison. Because at least then they're not answering you, and they're not, you're not pulling out. Well, you are pulling out your hair. It's just pulling out your hair two separate ways.
Yeah.
I feel like with Lemon Brat, that's like you've taken one single leg hair and you've ripped it out, and you go ouch. And then with Sugar and Spice, that's like you've taken both of your eyelashes in between your thumb and forefinger on both eyes and rip them all out at the same time.
Yeah, that's seriously how the experience went for me. It was terrible. So, okay, so I have another question here. Do you have any information about the time when she supposedly ditched someone at a con? So, like, what happened was I don't know if they were a friend or something like that, but they offered to drive someone back to their home because they lived local or something like that. And this, I keep saying this throughout the podcast, this could be wrong. We don't have any facts about it. But what happened was, due to her poor communication and her lies, she actually never talked to that person, like, at the con, and, like, she just basically stranded her. Do you have any info about any of that stuff that happened?
I do not have any info about that, and that's something that I would like to look more into. So, if by chance you're that person and you want your story to be added to the Google document that's out, you can contact me several places: UntamedFur on Instagram, Bungle Shiv on Twitter. No, I've not heard that, and that's deeply disturbing. But I would say that, again, there's probably credence to it. I have heard of other bad behaviors from Alice at cons, including ditching her obligation to host a panel and put it on to somebody else to do last minute because she didn't feel like it. But to strand somebody at a con, that's particularly evil. It wouldn't be the only time I've heard about Sugar and Spice being involved in having trouble getting home from a convention. I know that this is something they did to another person, but they themselves have said several times at conventions that they couldn't get home. There have been emergency situations around that. It's funny how many conventions they seem to go to versus the amount of work they owe. Right.
And that actually brings up Beware that I included in my video back then when I had a pending order with them. But what happened was, someone was supposed to meet her at Biggest Little Fur convention, and I'm going off of memory here, some of the info might be wrong, but someone was supposed to meet her at BLFC, and what happened was they were supposed to meet at 4. It took 2 or 3 hours of just waiting in a parking lot or something for her to finally show up, and she was blaming that, like, her boyfriend was, like, not feeling well and that he needed something to eat or something like that. And then right when she delivered that suit, there were no feet included with the suits. So then
this one, yes.
Yep.
This is true.
And then what happened was, the person said, "Hey, so you forgot my feet, can you make it because I paid for it?" And she said, "Oh, yep, I can do that." took her over a year to make it and to get it sent out.
Oh yeah.
Just for it to be done in a completely different color.
Yeah, this is probably news.
Yeah.
It's absolutely inexcusable to. I mean, okay, so if somebody was sick, again, this is the emotional manipulation of, oh, it's okay that we're a little late because somebody was sick, and it just gets to be really tiresome when you're just doing whatever you want on your customer's time. And just making them accept whatever you're going to give them, and that's good enough. To make somebody wait in a parking lot for 2 hours because you want to go to Wendy's and get your chow on, okay, entitled much. Yeah. But also the fact that the feet were not there. Okay, so you spent all that money and waited all that time, and you're still going to run around the convention in your costume. But sure would have been nice to have feet to go with my partial that I paid for, right. And then. What am I supposed to do with these feet that don't match the partial? Thank you. Thanks, Sugar and Spice, for... at that point, you wonder, was it out of spite or was it out of incompetence? The feet were a different color,
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of a repeat question, but do you think that she guilts her customers?
Absolutely. Night and day, left and right.
Yeah.
Every single person will be emotionally manipulated by her if they are her customer.
And it seems like every beware that I read about her, the fact that when you type in Sugar and Spice on Google and that there's 3 or 4 bewares about her on the first page just brings up red flags, and she guilts all of her customers in all of them.
Left and right, and it's been like that for years on end, and it's never gotten any better in terms of seeing them reliably produce the work and say, here it is, and everybody's giving them good reviews. I do believe that if you go to Fursuit review, all 3 of the reviews up for Sugar and Spice are negative, and one of them is a pre-made partial. So, their propensity to lie about something being finished when it hasn't even been started is a repeat pattern that just cycles on and on until it's $66,000 of missing money.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, just looking at our notes here about the podcast, you mentioned, I actually mentioned it in my previous video that she guilted a customer by saying that, I shouldn't say she guilted them directly, but she did say a bad customer forced her to work through pain after she got wrist surgery or something like that. But that just seems like it would have been an excuse that she would have used in the past if she was, I guess, trying to extend the deadline more. But it just seems like that's one of the things that she tried to say to cover up her tracks. We know Sugar and Spice at this point. We know that if there's one minor inconvenience, she's not going to work.
I would agree with you, and anything will become an excuse, and it'll go until your protection has run out and you are at their mercy. It's happened to too many people before you, and it'll happen again until they leave the fandom and go and prey on another community, which right now seems to be roller skates.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I kind of lost track of thought.
Oh, it's okay.
At some point, your brain kind of turns to jelly from this, and you have to kind of rub your head and go, "Oh my God, wait, what was I thinking about again?" It's all blurring together.
Yeah, it's hard to do without a script, but when you're talking about, just letting everything out, yeah, you can kind of speak a little too much and then go where was I going with this?
It's definitely like that.
Yeah.
I think after compiling 25 pages, your mind kind of is allowed to just turn to jello.
Yep. But anyways, this next question is a little opinionated, and this might be a little harsh, but if this goes too far, I'll crop it out. But what's the worst thing that you think she has done, in your opinion?
Oh, well, I mean, I would definitely say it's the skate shop opening because it's embezzled money. It is fraudulent. She's a fraud. Sugar and Spice are a fraud, and the fact that they have opened this secondary business off of not only embezzled money, but during a national pandemic, and at the same time, they've said, oh, well, you can have refunds if you contact us, and then everybody that's contacted them has zero refund. These people are willfully withholding refund money and money during a national pandemic for the people that have more or less been a giant loan to them for upwards of 4 to 5 years. And if that isn't evil, I don't know what is, because think about all the people that have had money hardships this year over COVID-19, and this is the year that they decide that they're going to open up this skate shop, and they opened up in May. That means that the pandemic had happened, it all came to light, and they said, nah, we're still going through with it. We're opening up our skate shop because this is our new dream. And it's really evil to see somebody with such a flagrant disregard for other people's needs during a national emergency.
Yeah.
I don't know how much more serious it could get than a national emergency. You ask yourself.
So I have a small conspiracy here. Do you think that she saw that small businesses were getting government help from the pandemic, so she opened up a business just so she can come up with an excuse saying, oh yeah, it's a pandemic and I just opened up my business, I'm struggling? Do you think she's trying to do that to try and get some more money?
I have no idea. I do not know where the depths of their depravity ends. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I would just say, maybe. You never know. I mean, because part of me went, is the car real? Did they get into, are they filing a fraudulent insurance claim there too? Who knows? Who knows at this point? All we can say is everything feels really sketchy with them, and maybe it won't stop feeling sketchy until people get their products.
Yeah, and I really thought she was turning around when she pinned a tweet saying, so if you guys order from us and if you haven't received your suit, just contact us for a refund. I actually thought she was turning around there, but no,
that's a pin to put in everybody's shouts. That's a, hey, we've told you that you can find us for refunds. It's not our fault that we haven't. You know what? It's all bullshit. It's basically them just hoping that furries don't swarm the skate page and go mental, because that's what they should do. People should absolutely contact them over there and say, what the fuck? Where's our money? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I swore. I shouldn't swear. Yeah. But seriously, what the fuck? Where's our money?
Yeah, no worries. YouTube's weird because they say if you for monetization, which I doubt that this video will go through, but that's fine. YouTube's weird because they say if you say the F word within 30 seconds of your video, you can't monetize it. But if you say it sometime after that, you can monetize it for some reason. I don't know, but it's just YouTube's weird sometimes.
They've got all their bureaucratic red tape just like any other place.
Yep. Okay, so I just have one more question here, since the podcast has been going on for, let's see here, almost an hour now. This may top off the 1 hour mark.
Holy cow.
Yeah, time flies. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention to you at the beginning of the video, and you guys are watching this right now, but this video is going to be a premiere, so I'll be watching it with you guys at the same time. Yeah, so it's a cool little feature I want to try out, so I figured, what other video should I try doing that with besides, a podcast? So, okay, so for the last question to finish the podcast, I was wondering if there's anything that you would like to ask me, and I'll have to dig back in my memory banks here, regarding my order process with her. I mentioned my whole order process when I made a video about her and tweeted about her, but I am curious if there's anything that you would like to ask me to go a little more in depth about.
I think that I would like to ask you something, which this is sort of a repeat pattern for Alice, and I'd just like to ask you something on how it made you feel. Now, in her communications to you and to several other people in several other instances, Alice uses very friendly, and one would argue very unprofessional terms to call a client. I noticed a lot of, hey babe, hey sweetie, hey love. And, us as business makers, the ones that are taking commissions for fursuits, when we converse with a client, there's no, hey sweetie, hey honey. That's a little unprofessional from my standpoint and maybe some other people's, but did it make you feel that she would be using all these cutesy little love, honey, sweetie terms and then treating you like garbage when you wouldn't see communication from her for straight up weeks?
Yeah, I feel like I see a lot of people do this, not just, well, it's actually surprising that business owners like her do this, but I feel like that people are trying to do this just to get on your friendly, lovely side. Like, I see a lot of people who try and befriend people by using all these terms and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, I'm just here for a service. How come you're calling me that? You know, like, you don't. I mean, it's maybe a little common at a gas station. You know, someone like if someone's just from the area and just wants to be friendly, but like if it's like someone who you're spending $1,000 to produce a suit, it's kind of like, okay, well, that seems a little weird, but I can see why you're trying to be nice. But after a while, it did get a little annoying, and I'm kind of like, don't you have a boyfriend? Do you know that you talk to your clients that way? And it's kind of just confusing, I should say. But yeah, I would say that it was definitely a little inappropriate for her to say that. Like, I mean, sir or ma'am, that'd be fine. That's actually probably a little more professional than a fursuit company should address their clients by. But yeah, saying flirty stuff like that, like, it just seemed like a little unacceptable to her.
You know, I would want to mention just one other thing to sort of go along with what I've just asked you. I ask you this because I do remember another incident where a customer had ordered 2 heads. One was a pony and the other one was an Anubis. And with this client's review, this Beware that they put out afterwards, which at this point is several years old, you could see in the chat logs the same sort of, oh, hey, sweetie, oh, hey, baby, hey, babe, hey, love. And at one point, the client is giving it back and saying, like, oh, you know, I hope you feel better, sweetie. And unfortunately, when the Beware was posted, I saw some commentary by other people commenting saying, oh, this is really creepy. Why is the client calling her like sweetie and stuff like that? But now that like it's been all this time, you're like, no, she was manipulating him too. And I would dare to say that maybe Alice tries to put her own little sexuality or, you know, whatever you want to call it onto certain clientele just so she can manipulate them more. This is my own guess based off of that client's Beware and just the way I see her talking to you and others.
Yeah, and yeah, I honestly see some people like saying it in, I don't know, furry group chats or something like that. Like I assume it's just friendly talk and stuff, but like you just mentioned, it's like, okay, well, once was fine, I can get over it, but if you just keep saying that, I'm going to get really confused. And actually, on my video, a couple people talked about that too. Like, they were like, why are they calling you that? Like, you don't know them. And it just seemed really unacceptable for her.
You know, terms of endearment should be for people that you know personally. You know, just my 2 cents. I think that in a professional setting, it does not bode well.
Exactly, yeah. Do you have any other questions about me? Or, like, about my process?
I don't think so. You know, I fully trust absolutely 100% of your capabilities because I've seen your content and you do a very, very fine job. I mean, I'm just totally clueless, and I've just been here for the ride to give my statement. I hope that I've done well.
Yeah, and I hope that I done well providing you, information for that big Google Drive that you created about her. Hopefully, it helps a little more with people believing some of the stuff we've said. And honestly, this video is a little different compared to what I normally do. You know, when I called out lemon brown, when I called out sugar and spice, I showed every single screenshot that I could possibly show. This video felt a little opinionated, but it's also because I wanted to try a little, kind of a podcast. So I'm glad that you're able to join us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our chat, you know, even if it was over something that's a little controversial right now.
Yeah, if you ever feel like, you know, you want to come back again, if there's ever anything that comes up, just feel free to give me a PM. So.
Well, thank you so much. And, you know, it extends besides just formal podcasts too. Feel free to chat me.
All right, sounds good. Same to me. So I'll invite you to conversation whenever you want.
Sounds awesome. You've been so lovely. Thank you very much.